Everyone wants to rise to the top, but not everyone is willing to pay the price. There are hunts not worth starting. One wrong decision can also reverse the entire game. And sometimes, the most dangerous prey is the prey that refuses to run. Across the grassland, hundreds of buffalo slowly move as one massive black block. Amid that sea of hooves, a small being has just left its mother's womb. The calf lies flat on grass, long legs folded awkwardly, eyes not yet fully open, nostrils flaring, inhaling grass scent for the first time. It's the smallest one, nestled within the giant herd. Mother buffalo immediately lowers down, using rough tongue to lick calf dry from head to toe. Pungent amniotic scent spreads far on wind, drawing predators faster than any sound. Calf must stand up very quickly. Front legs, just extended, already slip falling. Hind legs push up, then buckle down. It keeps tilting and tumbling time after time. Grassland makes no room for the slow-footed. While calf still struggles, predators have already caught signals on wind and silently press toward the herd. Finally, after 7 falls, calf also stands steady on 4 legs. That moment is very significant because now it can keep pace with entire herd steps. When hyena arrives, adult buffalo immediately close into a circle, pointing curved horn pairs outward, hiding calf safely in the encirclement center. Seeing that towering wall, hyena gives up seeking easier prey. Its eyes pause on another calf of same age, having wandered too far from herd's encirclement. No herd sheltering, no horns defended. Small calf has no chance remaining, and its fate is the coldest warning for anyone daring to stray from the herd. Every day, calf steps close beside mother amid dense flowing herd. The moment mother changes direction or stops, it immediately follows suit, reading every movement of the herd. At every waterhole, mother buffalo doesn't plunge down drinking immediately. She stands still a moment, ears continuously rotating toward riverside reed beds, searching for hidden dangers. When entire herd lowers heads to drink, calf does the same, but it always stands on the inside amid massive bodies and dozens of horn pairs pointing out like a black wall. Calf doesn't grow up on mother's milk alone. It matures amid hundreds of vigilant eyes and countless horn pairs ready to turn in one direction when danger arrives. Through passing years, 2 bone ridges on forehead will fuse into a solid, hard shield. That's not just a protective helmet for head, but also weapon for every battle ahead. But that's a matter for the future. Right now, when shield hasn't yet grown, a pack of over 10 wild dogs has arrived, making calf panic running into herd center. One claw still managed to scratch calf's shoulder, drawing blood. But immediately, herd closes tight circle of sharp horn tips, forcing entire wild dog pack to hesitate, then retreat. Scratch will heal. Skin layer on its body keeps thickening through years. When mature, African buffalo skin is over 2 centimeters thick. evolved to withstand fangs and claws across generations. Each green grass season passes. Shield on forehead grows thicker, horn pair grows longer. Then two bone ridges from different years also spread to meet each other, covering the once smooth forehead entirely. Its horn pair curves down on both sides, then turns upward like two fishhook blades. That horn style isn't for stabbing, but for sliding underneath, then hurling enemies high. Now, buffalo is stocky muscle mass weighing over 600 kilograms. Pitch black bone shield on forehead is hardest point, an impenetrable defensive plate. Another male approaches, stares straight into its eyes. In buffalo society, that gaze is a challenge, and for first time, young buffalo doesn't back away at all. Both simultaneously lower heads, bone shield and horn pair, both pointing toward opponent. On grassland, this is the opening ritual for every power determination contest. Two massive bodies charge straight at each other. Sound of shields colliding echoes like rock striking rock, while porous bone layer inside quietly absorbs most of collision force to protect skull. Neither yields. Two shields press tight against each other, forelegs gripping ground, 2,000-pound bodies pushing and shoving, making hooves churn ground into deep furrows. Finally, other male tires. Hind legs slip long, then turns leaving. Winner's shield still intact. Not a single crack after dozens of collision strikes. Cow group advances around the victor. One gently rubs head against its shoulder. Right to pass on bloodline only belongs to one strong enough to stand firm after every confrontation. That porous shield withstood even a gore from a male weighing the same. What has withstood that terrifying impact's force means predators' fangs and claws can also barely penetrate. Dry season arrives. Buffalo herd again begins journey seeking new grass source. But hidden in tall grass along the way, yellow eyes have silently tracked them for long. That's a lion pride. They understand one adult male buffalo cannot be brought down by a single individual, but requires entire groups' coordination. They choose one old buffalo that has fallen behind, slower than entire herd. Then entire pride simultaneously charges out, surrounding prey and cutting off retreat path to kindred. From multiple directions, they all lunge in. Two lock tight on hind legs, one clings onto back. Old buffalo staggers, then buckles knees, while entire herd panics, scattering fall. Lead one clamps tight onto scrub, but fang set only slips smooth on hard bone layer. Porous structure inside shield has neutralized bite force, making the clamp harmless. Another aims for throat, familiar move to make prey stop breathing. But buffalo's neck too sturdy. Its jaw cannot fully encircle to squeeze tight. Thanks to solid shield and muscular neck, old buffalo still stubbornly holds out a few more minutes. Then suddenly, entire herd fleeing in distance simultaneously turns back. Leading that army is exactly the small calf from back then, one who once fell 7 times before standing on the first day. Now commanding entire herd, charging straight into lion pride. Just one head toss, fishhook horn pair has hurled the one riding old buffalo's back flying. Following is hundreds of pitch black muscle masses, simultaneously charging like a storm. Before forest of horn tips rushing from every direction, lion pride has to release prey and flee. For first time, those crowned rulers must tuck tail fleeing before prey. Old buffalo strains to stand, hind legs still bleeding. On horn shield at forehead, only a few fang scratch marks, but no tooth reached bone. Entire herd clusters around, escorting old comrade into safety within encirclement. One who was once sheltered now stands at front line, serving as shield for kindred. Then journey also brings entire herd before a river, final boundary before promised land. No choice remaining, they bravely plunge into the water. Each one cautiously wades in, disturbing eerily calm water surface. Beneath silt layer, ancient predators have silently followed along. Suddenly, water beneath buffalo's feet explodes. A crocodile springs out, locking tight on hind leg. Bite with terrifying force holds prey, determined to drag it to river bottom. Yet it chose the wrong prey. Nearly 700 kilograms weight plus 4 legs planted deep into mud bottom makes buffalo immovable as stone, despite crocodiles straining to drag and pull. Increasingly, more individuals rush to press close to riverbank, forcing crocodile to slowly loosen bite, then silently retreat into murky water. Buffalo herd doesn't stop. Each massive body follows the next, continuing forward, only leaving few faint blood streaks and gradually calming ripples behind. Green grass shore finally appears. Buffalo, who once entered the world amid kindred's encirclement, now stands at herd's edge, contributing to that very solid wall itself. Dusk paints deep grass sea golden. Wind again carries new scents, signaling another story beginning far on the horizon. Somewhere behind shifting grass, another pair of eyes has just opened. This place has never belonged to one species. Each dusk is start of another life. The grassland of southern Africa, in the middle of the dry season, earth cracked open in great patches, grass burned flat, and the last water source vanished many weeks ago. But deep beneath the dry surface, a creature still exists. Its body nearly shut down, metabolism drastically reduced to hold on to its last reserves of moisture. Through months without eating or drinking, heart beating slowly, waiting for the familiar signal that will wake the body back to life. The sky to the west begins to darken, black clouds rolling low and carrying a damp wind. Then the first drops of rain fall onto the dry earth and seep into the cracks. The rain grows heavier, softening the parched soil, water pooling in small patches across the cracked surface, carrying moisture and new vitality to the arid land. Then the earth stirs. A crack widens, mud bursts upward, and from below, a large head with amber eyes slowly rises after months of concealment. The African bullfrog has a body as dense as a mass of muscle sunk in mud, jaws occupying nearly half its head, lined with small spike-like teeth. Once prey has entered, there is no escape. A body not built for running, it only needs to lie still and wait for prey to come to it. And after months of starvation, the hunting instinct rises back with full force. Small insects crawl across the wet mud, Another bullfrog lies watching the ground, its body blending almost completely into the mud color. A millipede passes close. The bullfrog's mouth snaps open, tongue fires out, jaws close. From the moment the prey touches down to the moment it disappears takes half a second. 10 minutes. Dozens of insects have vanished. The frog makes use of the brief rainy days to rapidly recover the energy burned away through the entire dry season. But insects are only the appetizer. For them, anything that fits in the mouth is food. And around the newly formed water pools, larger prey gradually appears. A field mouse steps out from the wet grass, searching for seeds along the water's edge, nose down low, completely unaware that death is waiting just ahead. It takes one more step, then the mud explodes. The frog's mouth snaps open, swallowing the mouse whole, locking every struggle down with the sharp teeth lining its mouth. The eyeballs press downward to help push the prey deeper into the throat. The mouse disappears, hind legs kicking weakly, then going still. The belly swells, but the mouth is already ready for the next one. 2 weeks after the rain, the savannah is drying again. Insects and small reptiles are more active, and the bullfrog has left the water pool, sitting motionless like a lump of dry mud on the red earth. A small snake slides past, just 20 centimeters away, tongue flickering, head raised to probe the environment. It is still too small to recognize the danger directly in front of it. The snake glides across the frog's field of view. A strike launches upward, misses. Red earth flies up as the prey attacks and tries to find a way out. The second lunge lands true. Jaws lock onto the head, spiked teeth drive deep. The snake's body coils and tightens around the frog, but is pressed flat against the ground. The frog begins to swallow. The grassland returns to quiet. The frog, lying still under the warm sun, belly rounded and full, beginning the slow process of digestion after a series of heavy meals under the sunlight slowly returning. The rainy season brings not only food, but the opportunity to breed, when all activity must happen quickly before the last drop of water disappears. At the largest water pool in the area, dozens of males gather, throats swelling as deep calls roll across the savannah, drawing females and staking out control of the breeding center. The strongest male holds the central position where the water is deepest, while others ram, press, and bite each other to win the only chance to continue their lineage. When the female arrives, mating is quick, eggs are fertilized immediately and cling to moss and grass, beginning a life cycle that must outrace the receding water. Tadpoles hatch, thousands of tiny bodies swimming frantically in the warming pool, eating algae and each other to grow, because their life cycle is shorter than the pool sustaining them. Many weeks pass, the harsh sun returns, the pool shrinks day by day from a wide pond to a small puddle. Tadpoles packed together in a life source that is steadily running out. And in the middle of the shrinking pool, the father frog stays. He looks at the mud ridge dividing two pools of water, then quietly uses his hind legs to break through the mud, channeling his young through to the water on the other side. After hours of digging mud, under the blazing sun, his strength is spent, skin dry, eyes half closed. Yet he has held on to the chance of life for thousands of tadpoles. A smaller frog enters the territory being guarded. But for the bullfrog, a smaller member of its own species can sometimes also become food. The lunge happens quickly and decisively. As the dry season turns back, the instinct to protect and the instinct to hunt exist within the same body. Tadpoles begin to grow legs, some metamorphosing into frogs in fewer than 3 weeks, fingernail-sized, leaving the muddy pool to step into the high-risk world above the waterline. But the moment they reach the bank, the young frogs face hunting birds, snakes around the water's edge, and other adult frogs, because when hungry, this species does not distinguish its own kind. Most do not survive the first week. Of thousands of eggs, only a few will still be alive by the following rainy season. But those that remain will grow into monsters like their father. The pool has dried completely. The last tadpoles have left, and the father frog gazes silently at the empty patch of earth, sitting at the edge of dry mud, sensing the heat of the dry season slowly returning. Then the old instinct wakes. It begins to dig, hind legs driving hard, body sinking gradually into the hardening mud, preparing for the next long sleep. Mud slowly covers the back, the head, then both eyes, leaving behind a water-retaining membrane that gradually encases the body like a survival cocoon for the dry months ahead. The earth cracks open again, grass burns flat under the scorching sun, the water pools vanish entirely, and deep below the dry ground, the bullfrog lies still with a slowing heart, waiting for the next rain. A young frog that survived the rainy season sits near the drying bank. No larger than a coin, it has just caught its first ant. Life starts here. If it survives the first dry season, it will burrow into a mud cocoon like its parents, then emerge after the rains, larger, stronger, with a mouth that grows wider with every hunting season. The hot wind sweeps across the savannah. The cracked, dry earth is completely silent, but deep below, hundreds of bullfrogs lie still inside their own water-retaining membranes. And that is how the African bullfrog survives. The most voracious predator on the savannah is also the one that buries itself in a sleep lasting many months, just to exchange it for a handful of opportunities. Field mice still search for seeds. Grass snakes still hunt, completely unaware that the danger sleeping beneath their feet needs only one rain to open its mouth. The rainy season will return, perhaps soon, perhaps late. But without needing to know the timing, it only needs to feel the first vibration when water touches the earth. The first raindrop will fall, the earth will soften, pools will form, insects will surge, and from beneath the cracks, amber eyes will open again, beginning a new hunting season. But for now, the grassland is still dry and hot, and deep beneath the dark earth, it still lies there, waiting. The ground trembles faintly. Not rain yet, only wind moving through the grass. But sooner or later, the water will return, and it will be here when that happens. 8 small legs glide across damp earth after rain. The Sydney funnel web spider is drawing its first threads of silk, weaving a door of death right on the ground surface. In Australia, a continent isolated for tens of millions of years, even the smallest creature can carry the most fearsome weapon on the planet. In the funnel web, the male is usually smaller than the female, but its venom is more potent. Within its body is a trachotoxin, a neurotoxin of particular danger. A cricket accidentally touches a signal thread. From the bottom of the funnel, the spider launches upward, fangs driving deep and delivering venom in about 1/10 of a second. The prey quickly becomes paralyzed. That small meal restates a rule of this continent. Size does not determine the level of danger. When the dry season arrives, the damp soil gradually disappears. The male must leave the burrow and cross open ground, exposing itself to countless risks. It can bring down prey with a dose of venom smaller than a single droplet of dew. But in the rainforests of the north, another predator has chosen the complete opposite approach. Below the dry forest, a rock wallaby is leisurely grazing on young leaves beneath sparse canopy. Its wide field of vision makes it believe it is standing in a safe position. In the branches above, a scrub python quietly descends. A body as thick as a thigh wraps around the trunk, moving the heavy mass of muscle silently downward. This is the longest snake in Australia, capable of exceeding 5 meters. It needs no venom. Its coils alone are enough to squeeze the life from prey through sheer muscle. When the patterned head lowers to eye level, the wallaby finally recognizes the danger. But it is already too late. Every direction blocked by tree shadow and the descending snake. The strike unfolds right where the prey felt most safe. The muscular coils close in beneath the canopy, branches shaking violently, then going completely still. The struggle ends quickly. As the python begins to swallow its prey, the ground below trembles faintly with the footsteps of a creature weighing nearly 100 kilograms. The earth of Australia's interior cracks under blazing sun. A mob of red kangaroos grazes in the afternoon, young pressed close to the mother, a familiar sight in every image of Australia. But across this broad expanse, there is only one shallow pool left. Groups of kangaroos stand around the edge, and access to the water determines the order of the entire mob. Two males step forward from either side, broad shoulders, muscle taut beneath red fur, thick tails pressed to the ground like pillars supporting the entire body. They rear upright, facing each other, both arms raised, then drive into each other. Punches landing on faces, wring dry in the hot air, neither side giving ground. When the balance has not yet broken, one shifts its weight onto its tail and drives both hind feet hard into the opponent's belly. Sharp claws tear skin, red dust rising in dense clouds. The one struck staggers backward, struggling to right itself. But the opponent is already pressing in, continuing to drive force, pushing it into a position with no way out. The male falls a third time and cannot rise. It breathes in rapid bursts, then springs up and backs away from the pool, defeated. It turns and leads its females away to find another source. The whole group gradually disappears across the sunlit grassland. The young one hops unsteadily at the rear, all heading along a strip of grass stretching to the horizon, not knowing whether water lies ahead. The winner remains beside the pool, breathing hard. Its mob moves in, muzzles touching the shallow water. That small pool was held by strikes that the weaker could not have won for themselves. The young one tucks into the mother's pouch, eagerly drinking the life delivered through each mouthful of milk. On the dry grassland, every drop of water today is exchanged for one more day of living. The male red kangaroo, weighing nearly 90 kilograms, fights with both arms and legs. It licks its forearms to cool down, the body carrying no sweat glands the way many other mammals do. Behind the familiar gentle appearance, the red kangaroo is in fact a survival fighter, ready to drive into combat to claim water for the entire mob. But even the winner is losing water with every breath. The water source drains a little more each day, and when it disappears, this grassland holds no place for anyone. Kangaroos use strength to secure water, but deep in the arid interior, there are creatures that live in an entirely different way, quietly, needing to fight no one for anything. The red desert of Australia's interior, where life seems impossible, yet a thorny devil still picks its way slowly across the sand, its body covered in sharp spines. Those spines are not for fighting. Each one carries a tiny groove that channels water. When dew condenses, the water flows along the skin and directly into the mouth. Every early morning, a thin dew settles across the desert. Hundreds of microscopic water droplets simultaneously flow across the spine-covered skin, gathering into an amount sufficient to keep it alive in the arid zone. Its skin shifts colors with the temperature, darkening to absorb heat in the cold, lightening to reflect intense sunlight when the ground burns. Behind its neck is a perfect false head. When attacked, it lowers its real head and presents the decoy from the rear. The predator lunges into a harmless empty space. Spines for collecting water, skin for regulating heat, false head for deception. The desert did not produce a creature, it produced a complete survival mechanism. Deep in the eucalyptus forest, sunlight filters through long drifting leaves. A koala curls on a high branch, half dozing, waking only long enough to eat. That slowness is the strategy. Eucalyptus leaves are low in nutrition and laced with toxins, so the koala sleeps most of the day to save energy for its liver working constantly to detoxify. The koala wakes from a long sleep. Eyes barely opening, it slowly reaches for the nearest eucalyptus leaf and puts it in its mouth, chewing slowly, a leaf that most mammals avoid entirely. But for the koala, this is a food source without competition. What is toxic to every other species nourishes it year-round, regardless of drought or heavy rain. After a few leaves, it closes its eyes again. A koala's day consists of almost only two states, eating and sleeping, with fewer than 1 hour of wakefulness. That very slowness creates an unusual advantage. Needing very little food, very little movement, very few enemies. The koala endures steadily right in the middle of a place where most other species struggle. Australia, an isolated land where every rule is overturned. The smallest carries the most fearsome venom. The gentlest fights the most fiercely. The thorny devil draws water from dew through its spines, while the koala turns toxic leaves into a meal exclusively its own. Each species has found a way out that exists nowhere else. None of this is an exception. It is the outcome of tens of millions of years of separation, where evolution quietly rewrote every definition of the strong and the surviving. And the koala still sleeps on the eucalyptus branch, opening its eyes only when the time comes to put one more leaf in its mouth. From the coastal rainforests to the endless red desert, life in Australia did not choose the easiest path. It chose the most extraordinary solutions in order to survive. And that is precisely what has made Australia one of the most unique evolutionary laboratories on the planet, where nature continues to astonish the world. Before the burrow entrance, the puppies lie together. But behind that peaceful appearance are empty bellies and hunger growing larger by the hour. As the East African plains' smallest hunter, black-backed jackal lives in the gaps where lions, hyenas, or leopards always claim the decisive share. On the wide grassland, mother jackal leaves den, gliding light as a low shadow. She reads wind, traces signs, seeking the only thing that can save her pups, fresh meat. Weighing less than 15 kilograms, she's smaller than every hunter around her. But she cannot afford mistakes, because just one failure could end an entire generation. Few hundred meters away, mother warthog leads piglets digging roots on soft ground. Tiny young ones toddle around mother's legs, taking life's first steps. No hunter foolishly lunges at angry mother warthog with sharp tusks. But piglets less than a week old remain weakness that cannot be hidden. While foraging, she suddenly freezes, head snaps up. Open grassland shows nothing suspicious, but uneasy instinct has made her whole body tense. Piglets still carefree foraging. They don't know in distant grass a black back is slipping through grass, advancing, not hiding itself, but deliberately allowing detection. She advances close enough for scent to reach mother warthog's snout, and reaction as predicted. Mother warthog notices, body stands firm, tusks open in defensive stance. Jackal advances just slow enough to always stay in mother warthog's sight. No reaction, no attack, only keeping prey's gaze locked forward. Mother warthog has fully turned back toward piglets. All attention focused on opponent ahead, breathing becomes more rapid. Behind, grass stirs slightly in rhythm, not belonging to wind. Two black shadows leap from behind, swift and precise, as if rehearsed 1,000 times. Before piglets can cry out, each jaw has snatched one prey, then vanished into grass sea. Mother warthog spins around, seeing piglets diminished, tiny cries completely swallowed in tall grass. She chases few steps, then freezes. Jackal's scent has dispersed in all directions. She returns to flattened grass trace where piglets were just stolen. Snout touches still damp earth, moves around briefly. Search has ended before it could begin. Before burrow entrance, jackal pups fight over meat mother just brought back. Hungry whimpers turn into hurried chewing, adding bit of life force to young bodies. But that's not enough to feed entire growing litter. Mother jackal looks at still hollow bellies, then turns back toward grassland, leaving behind unfinished cries for food. Entire pack heads west again, where Mother Warthog still remains. They hunt not to stockpile, but because pups in den still wait for more food. By now, Mother Warthog has hidden remaining piglets in dense grass clump. Little ones nestle nursing. She lies beside, trying to regain strength after hours of tension. Grassland gradually settles. Wind only carries dry grass scent and hot earth. No more signs of predators that just appeared earlier. Then grass ahead stirs slightly off wind's rhythm. Behind also stirs in same pattern. Mother Warthog jumps up, recognizing encirclement has closed around her. Jackal pack doesn't charge in again. After first success, they've learned hardest thing to overcome isn't Mother Warthog's tusks, but her position beside piglets. One steps out from low grass, then stands blocking ahead. It doesn't circle away like previous times, but deliberately holds position in Mother Warthog's sight. Mother Warthog immediately charges forward. For her, driving predator away from piglets always safer than waiting for danger to approach. Jackal flees, not too fast for Mother Warthog to give up, nor too slow to be caught. It maintains exact distance that hunting instinct cannot easily ignore. Mother Warthog accelerates. Each time seemingly about to touch, Jackal edges few more meters away. Chase continues across increasingly wider grass spans. Then she suddenly freezes. Where are the piglets? Grass clump where they hid now only has young warthogs running. Jackal still continues running ahead, but this time, Mother Warthog no longer chases. Sudden unease grips her mind tightly. She turns, charging back, and right then, from distance rings out piercing shriek of one piglet, then second sounds. Cries continue rising, then fading, one after another. Distance just stretched now becomes something Mother Warthog cannot overcome. She sprints full speed across grassland. Dust kicks up after each stride, but each time, she always arrives one beat slower than Jackal pack. Returning to shelter, only one remains huddled under Mother's belly. Around it, flattened grass trails spread every direction like traces of just completed plunder. Only now does Mother Warthog understand Jackal pack's tactics. They never intended to bring her down, only lured her away, letting distance itself finish off each piglet. But hunt isn't over yet. Remaining piglet suddenly loses composure, bolts from grass clump, charging straight into open ground ahead. One jackal immediately chases, each stride shortening distance. Young one too small and too slow, while Mother Warthog too far to save in time. Jaws only handspan from small tail. Everything seems settled. Then from behind, heavy snort tears through air. Mother Warthog charges like furious mass of flesh, pouring last remaining strength into the gore. Tusks hurl nearest jackal flying. Entire packs startle scattering. Hunter suddenly becomes the struck. Lead male freezes, watching mother warthog spin within encirclement without retreating. Her eyes no longer fearful, only ferocity of one with nothing left to lose. Piglet runs back, hastily burrows into mother's belly. Mother warthog points tusks, slowly turns body shielding, making jackal pack standing distant, not dare risk further. Finally, jackal pack turns, leaving, this time for real. They run toward the den, each carrying one portion, bringing back to waiting pups. Before burrow entrance, jackal pups again rush out competing for food, bellies gradually filling. Mother jackal lies beside, breathing tired, long hunt traded for entire litter's fullness. While west, mother warthog leads final piglet away from grass field. Morning's crowded litter now only one small shadow staying close at her feet. Two families leave grassland in two directions. One side carries food, other side carries what remains of litter. Black-backed jackals aren't as strong as lions or hyenas. They survive through coordination, patience, and ability to turn small opportunities into large advantages. While warthogs endure through stamina and ferocity. When pushed to limit, even one mother can turn entire hunt around. These are two very different strategies, but both honed by same pressure: survival on East African plains. Here, hunters and prey continuously shape each other. Each successful tactic forces the other side to adapt better. Therefore, no species keeps advantage forever. Each surviving day is just one small win in game lasting across many generations. And when dawn returns, that race will continue. On this grassland, life belongs to those adapted enough to keep walking. The rains have just passed, and the savannah wakes in lush green. Following the new growth, hundreds of thousands of herbivores pour back in, creating the largest migration on the planet. The most numerous are the wildebeest. Moving among them are zebras and impala. In the distance, the tall necks of giraffes rise above the acacia canopy. But the fertile grassland has never belonged only to the grazers. Every day, somewhere in the vast sea of grass, individuals are separated from the herd and disappear. Lions hunt the slowest. Hyenas seek out the weakest. Wild dogs chase calves that have strayed from their mothers. And when it is all over, vultures clean up whatever remains. But the following day, the savannah is still crowded, and the season after that. For thousands of years, these herds have never run out, though death is always present. The answer lies a few dozen kilometers away. Across stretches of low open grassland, hundreds of thousands of female wildebeest are gathering in the same place. They choose the open ground not for concealment. Here in the savannah, where there is almost nowhere to hide, their greatest weapon is numbers. Then calves begin to arrive one after another. Mothers quickly lick the still wet coat dry. And within just minutes, the newborns must already be ready for the first run of their lives. But the peak of calving also alerts every predator. The scent of afterbirth and the calls between mother and calf carry on the wind, drawing spotted hyena clans to the grassland. The open ground allows the wildebeest to spot them early. But this time, the predators have no need to hide. Prey is appearing densely everywhere. One calf is taken before it can stand. Another loses its mother in the sea of its own kind. Calls ring out across the calving ground, but nothing can stop it. The mothers call frantically across the calving ground, but they cannot hold back the tide. There are too many predators, and they barely need to exert themselves to bring down calves this young. But even predators have limits. When bellies are full and energy runs out, they lie down in the grass even though food still surrounds them on all sides. In a single day, dozens of calves may disappear, but at the same time, thousands of others have just been born. Life arrives faster than death. That is the first secret of the savannah. Unable to protect every calf, they choose to produce more than the hunters can take. And while the hyenas are satisfied, the surviving calves quietly grow stronger. Every hour that passes, their legs become steadier and their chances of survival increase. Zebras gradually join the migration. Moving alongside other species, every individual is safer than it would be alone. The stream of animals stretches out, winding across the endless savannah. But that stream does not travel alone. In the faded grass ahead, a lioness lies pressed flat to the ground, patiently waiting for one mistake. She has locked onto an impala grazing at the edge of the herd. Moving forward in silence, she lets the distance between herself and the prey shorten with every step. Just as the lioness is about to launch, the impala suddenly raises its head. Eyes positioned on the sides of its skull allow it to detect the hunter even while still facing away. Too late to stay hidden, the lioness springs forward, but the impala has already bolted, changing direction continuously until the chase ends quickly in failure. Before she has even stopped, she spots another opportunity. A zebra has drifted too close. The lioness lunges, both front paws driving into the prey's flank and pinning it to the grass. But the zebra is much larger and stronger. It kicks out furiously, breaks free of the talons, and drives straight into the middle of the herd, where the stripes are rolling in chaos. In that swirl of black and white, the lioness's eyes can no longer pick out a target. When the dust settles, the entire herd has moved far away, leaving the lone hunter behind. Two consecutive failures, but the hunger still does not allow this hunter to stop. Further away, a mother giraffe and her calf become the last hope. She creeps forward again through the low grass, but then she suddenly stops. From the opposite direction, another lion is also silently closing in on the calf. The one who arrived first loses patience. It suddenly launches toward the calf, but the mother giraffe immediately spins around and delivers a powerful rear kick that sends the attacker flying off the ground. Witnessing a kick that could end a grown predator, the lioness abandons the idea. She turns away, closing a day of failed hunting on the grassland. But not every hunter accepts going hungry. On the eastern savannah, the wild dog pack has already begun its march. They run in a long line, keeping the same stride together, heading toward where the herds are resting. Ahead, the grassland is still peaceful. Zebras and impala continue grazing. Buffalo are scattered under the afternoon sun, and the first lookout belongs to a creature that is part of no particular herd. A giraffe stands in the open, its eyes nearly 5 meters above the ground, seeing further than any other. Its head turns slightly, and the zebras immediately raise theirs. From the zebra herd, the alertness quickly spreads to nearby impala groups. Heads rise one by one, ears turning to face the same direction. Within minutes, the entire grassland has changed. Rest periods end, heads lift from the grass, and hundreds of bodies tense together in readiness. Because on the savannah, news always travels faster than the hunter. When the wild dogs are still far away, the herds already know danger is coming. The pack immediately fans out to approach from multiple directions. Among the countless moving bodies, the entire pack locks onto a calf standing at the edge of the buffalo herd. The chase begins. Panic sends the calf bolting, and within just a few short seconds, the gap between it and the herd has started to widen. But this time, the massive bodies behind it do not run. Every adult buffalo simultaneously turns, moving quickly toward the isolated young one. Dozens of pairs of horns point outward together, forming a living wall. Faced with that fortress, the dog pack is forced to halt and look for another opportunity. The defensive circle gradually opens. The calf wanders back into the middle of the herd and the horns lower. Within minutes, the grassland is peaceful once more. In the distance, the impala herd continues to move. The zebra stripes still stretch across the horizon, as though the chase that just happened never occurred. The wild dog pack has gone. The buffalo herd moves on steadily, carrying with them the calf that the whole group just reclaimed together. But somewhere else on the savannah, new lives are still being born. The spaces just emptied have already quietly begun to fill again. That is how the grassland has operated for millions of years. Life lost in one place is born again in another, in a cycle that has never stopped. Each new generation enters the world with faster legs, sharper eyes, and instincts sharpened by countless generations that came before. And so the predators have never lacked for prey, but the grazing herds have also never disappeared, even though some individuals do not return every day. And perhaps that is the greatest secret of the savannah. Not how to avoid being hunted, but how to ensure that life always returns after every hunt, every home. In the papyrus swamps of Uganda, a shadow nearly 1.5 meters tall stands motionless in shallow water. Amber eyes looking straight ahead, the enormous beak curving downward as though smiling. That is the shoebill. With a wingspan of more than 2.5 meters and a face that seems to have stepped out of prehistoric times, it is one of the strangest birds in Africa. Suddenly, the two edges of the beak slam together. A sharp, dry crack echoes across the swamp like wood striking wood, the distinctive sound of this species. Then everything sinks back into silence. The shoebill almost never moves, but its eyes continue tracking every small ripple spreading out through the reeds. Beneath the black mud is the African lungfish, one of the most ancient fish species still in existence. Though it lives underwater, it must periodically surface to breathe. That is the weakness the shoebill exploits. Air bubbles rising from the bottom mud reveal where the lungfish is hiding, and the shoebill only needs to stand and wait at exactly that spot. 10 minutes, then half an hour pass. It does not stir. In this hunt, what determines success is not speed, but absolute patience. But the swamp has never truly been still. A hippopotamus wades through, heavy legs churning up the bottom mud and sending waves rippling across the surface. The shoebill immediately adjusts position behind it. It knows that disturbances at the bottom often cause fish hiding in the mud to lower their guard. The hippo passes out of sight and the mud gradually settles. The shoebill stops, eyes locked onto the spot in the water where air bubbles have begun rising steadily. The long neck muscles begin to compress very slowly, loading force for a single strike. Yet the expression on its face does not change at all, still blank, still unhurried. Then the lungfish pushes its head up and opens its mouth to gulp air. At that exact moment, the shoebill drops its entire body forward, head, neck, and body driving down like a falling hammer. The lungfish still thrashes violently inside the shoe-shaped beak, but the hook at the tip of the bill holds it in place. Only seconds later, the prey has disappeared down the shoebill's throat. After swallowing, the shoebill stands still again at the water's edge. But this time, it does not look down at the swamp surface. It looks up to track a wing shadow that has just passed overhead. That is an African fish eagle, wingspan nearly 2 meters. In this wetland, it is one of the most formidable rivals the shoebill faces. Drawn by the hunt that just unfolded, the eagle drops lower, circling the area of water where the lungfish was just pulled from the mud, probing for an opportunity. The shoebill does not retreat. It spreads its enormous wings wide and raises the shoe-shaped beak toward the rival in an unmistakable declaration. After a few circling passes, the eagle changes course and flies away. The shoebill folds its wings and returns to its familiar silent stance among the reeds. But what matters most to it is not on the water surface. Deep within the expanse of papyrus is a large nest of dry grass, where the next generation is beginning its life. Each breeding season, the shoebill typically lays 2 eggs. After more than a month of continuous incubation, the first chicks begin breaking through the thick white shell. They are born with fluffy gray down and a still stubby beak. It is hard to believe that these small bewildered chicks will one day rule the swamp. With each passing day, they begin leaving their resting spot, practicing balance on their long legs and observing every movement of the marsh around them. But the swamp does not provide enough food for both to grow. When the beaks begin to harden, the competition between the 2 siblings also begins. Very quickly, the larger one starts to gain the advantage. It always appears first whenever the parents bring fish back, and gradually pushes the younger one toward the edge of the nest. In the end, most nests are left with only 1 chick. The parents barely intervene, allowing that harsh competition to select the individual strong enough to reach adulthood. A few months later, the sole surviving chick has grown large enough to leave the nest and begin an independent life. The gray down has given way to adult plumage, and the shoe beak hardening steadily with time. One day, the spot it chooses is not beside lungfish bubbles, but a crocodile nest a few meters away, where the mother crocodile is lying guard over her just hatched young. The mother crocodile quickly registers the unusual visitor appearing near the nest. She holds her position, eyes never leaving the tall shadow standing at the water's edge. But the crocodile brain is wired to react strongly to movement. As the shoebill continues standing as still as a dry tree stump, the mother's vigilance slowly eases. Around the nest, tiny crocodiles, just a few days old, are swimming lazily about. Their still soft skin is exposed right within the sight line of the one waiting. The sun continues rising higher. The heat blankets the entire swamp, turning the mudflats around the nest into scorched dry ground under the midday sun. Meanwhile, the young are still too small to understand the danger. They splash and swim, drifting a little further from their mother's protective circle with every passing minute. In the end, the heat wins. The mother crocodile slides into the shallows to cool down, eyes still directed toward the nest, but her body has moved away. The moment of waiting has arrived. Between the mother and her young, there is now a few meters of shallow water, short enough for the shoebill to close in, but too far for the mother to intervene in time. Every step placed in the water is lighter than a falling leaf. In the swamp, even one small ripple could bring the mother crocodile turning back. The long neck suddenly bends downward. The shoe-shaped beak drives forward so fast that the naked eye can barely register it. By the time the water sprays upward, a young crocodile is already sitting inside the wide beak. The entire hunt ends in a single beat. Even the faint sound is enough to make the mother crocodile turn her head. She drives toward the nest, but everything is already too late. The shoebill swallows its prize clean, then quickly backs away from the water's edge. The distance just created is enough to avoid the desperate countercharge. Returning to the nest, the mother crocodile releases deep, low calls. But one of the young in her clutch will never answer again. The shoebill stops at another shallow stretch of water and stands still once more. That composure reveals no trace at all of the hunt that just took place. The face is unchanged, round eyes, curved beak, and an expression so blank it is almost comical. It is hard to believe it just took a life. From lungfish buried in the mud, to large fish beneath the reed beds, to young crocodiles, very few creatures in the swamp are entirely safe from that beak. And yet, after everything, it only stands there. No roar of dominance, no fierce chase, just a motionless shadow in the middle of the endless papyrus sea. And perhaps that is precisely what makes the shoebill one of the most formidable hunters in Africa. The more still it stands, the more the swamp has reason to be afraid. Across the African savannah, a network of cool tunnels hides beneath the dry, cracked earth, a fortress in the scorching land above. But on this land, a burrow truly belongs only to the one strong enough to defend it. All that digging can be taken away in a moment. Midday heat pours down across the grassland. A ground squirrel family has spent many weeks constructing their home. A dry grass nest deep inside a dark tunnel. A refuge from the savannah's brutal temperatures. The mother squirrel leaves the burrow to forage, leaving her young behind inside, trusting the earthen walls that have sheltered them through their earliest weeks of life. At that same moment, a visitor is moving toward the squirrel's burrow. It builds no home, does no repairs. It only goes looking for doors already left open. That is the black mamba, the fastest snake in Africa, carrying within it venom enough to bring down any prey. For it, an unguarded burrow is an invitation difficult to refuse. The glossy dark body threads through the narrow entrance. The sound of scales against the earthen walls is like wind passing through the tunnel. At the bottom of the burrow, 3 squirrel pups are still fast asleep. The mamba moves into the innermost chamber of the tunnel. Its tongue sweeps continuously through the air, reading each remaining breath left in the thick darkness. One by one, the small sounds inside the tunnel go quiet. When the mamba leaves the final chamber, silence has settled in, welcoming the new owner of the home. When the mother squirrel returns, she stops short at the burrow entrance, the mamba's scent covering the opening like an invisible warning sign that this place is no longer hers. She takes a few steps forward, then freezes. From beneath the earth, not one call from her young answers back. Only an unfamiliar emptiness she has never encountered here before. The mother squirrel turns and walks away. No battle takes place. For her, the door to the home had already closed long before she could return. Now that termite mound belongs to the mamba, a home it never spent effort to build. But elsewhere, there are those who take homes without needing a single drop of venom. Deep in the oak forests of Europe, beneath a tangle of roots, a home lies concealed in the earth. Many chambers, many passages, more solidly built than any animal burrow on the continent. Its owner is a European badger, a creature of almost unbelievable cleanliness. It changes its bedding material every few days and keeps a dedicated latrine chamber, well separated from where it sleeps. Every stroke of digging, every change of bedding is a lifetime of the badger's devotion poured into this place. For it, that clean home is not merely shelter, it is a source of pride. But someone has had an eye on that home for a long time. The red fox, cunning but averse to digging. It covets the burrow while having no desire to dig a single stroke itself. The fox is not foolish enough to confront directly. It knows that inside the narrow tunnel, the badger is always the stronger one. So it chooses a far more silent weapon. It moves quietly to the burrow entrance and leaves its urine right at the threshold. Then threads deeper inside, silently marking every wall of earth it passes. The badger returns and stops just inside the entrance. An unfamiliar smell hits it directly. A scent that should never exist inside the home of a species that prizes cleanliness. It steps in, then steps back, steps in again, then back again. That smell has soaked into every wall of earth. Finally, the badger turns away, leaving behind the place it once called home. Across an entire ocean, on the North American prairie, a town lies just beneath the surface of the earth. Hundreds of connected burrows belonging to families of black-tailed prairie dogs. Every morning, they take turns standing guard, calling to each other in sharp cries whenever danger appears. They live closely together and are rarely caught off guard. Among that bustling community, a peculiar resident can sometimes be spotted: the burrowing owl. The only owl in the world that lives underground rather than perching in the trees. The burrow the owl wants belongs to a stubborn male prairie dog who has poured enormous effort into building his home and guards the entrance all day, refusing to leave. The owl cannot drive the prairie dog away by force, but it has a weapon that few species would think to expect. It quietly presses itself into an empty burrow nearby. And from inside that burrow, a dry rasping sound begins to rise. That hiss stretches long and unsettling, identical to a rattlesnake coiling and preparing to strike. The prairie dog jolts and launches out of the burrow entrance. Underground, nothing is more terrifying than the sound of a rattlesnake. It has no idea that the one threatening it is only a small bird. When the ground goes still, the owl steps into the burrow just vacated. It stands before the room still warm from its previous owner, then slowly settles into its new home. But not every home taker waits for the owner to leave on their own. There are those who arrive while a home stands empty, and when the owner returns, what has been lost is more than just shelter. The house sparrow lives among a vast number of other bird species. It turns up everywhere, so ordinary that few would guess it is one of the most skilled nest takers around. When spring comes, a pair of swallows diligently carry pellets of mud to build their nest. Hundreds of flights across many days, all to raise a home for the brood about to be born. One afternoon, the mother swallow leaves the nest to forage, the eggs lying on a bed of feathers. She has no idea this is the last time she will see them intact. Then a brown shape lands quietly at the nest's edge. The sparrow looks down at the clutch of eggs, then calmly pecks each one and carries it away from the nest, taking with it an entire season of the swallow's hope. The mother swallow returns too late. The young she never got to meet are already gone, and the stranger is near the nest entrance, keeping her from diving in. The bird that built that home can now only circle in helpless loops, calling out into empty air, but nothing answers back anymore. Finally, the pair of swallows fly away without once looking back. The nest they built with 1,000 wing beats now cradles eggs that are not their own. After homes stolen, abandoned, and changed hands, there is still one place unlike the rest. A home whose owner has devoted an entire life to building, yet never claimed it as theirs alone. In the longleaf pine forest, on sandy soil in the southeastern United States, a round burrow mouth opens at the base of a tree. Its owner is the gopher tortoise, the most persistent burrower in this land. With its broad front feet shaped like shovels, it works tirelessly downward into the earth. The deeper it goes, the cooler the air, beyond the reach of the heat and cold above. Before long, the first visitors begin to arrive. Season after season, countless creatures come to find shelter in the darkness below. At times, a snake coils just a few handspans from a frog. Out in the light, they are hunter and prey. But down here, every chase is put on hold. The gopher tortoise knows exactly who is sheltering around it, and yet it drives no one away, only moves quietly through the old tunnels, as though the home was always wide enough for everyone. Then one day, a wildfire sweeps through. Thick smoke envelops the pine trunks above. But deep underground, the burrow holds its cool shadow, sheltering the creatures pressed together inside. When the fire has passed, one animal after another climbs out into the ash. Last of all, the old tortoise steps out unhurried, gazing quietly at the forest, waiting to turn green again. Those who came before took their dwelling from someone else. The gopher tortoise did not. The home it lives in is something it made entirely on its own. In the longleaf pine forest on sand, that burrow stands through season after season of fire. Many generations of occupants have come and gone, but the home itself has never once disappeared. Perhaps in nature, the most enduring shelter is not held by the one who guards it most fiercely, but by the one willing to open it to all. Amid grassland, a young lion is pouring all effort chasing a buffalo. But the distance keeps widening. Finally, it stops, panting heavily amid sea of grass. Right then, a small dark shadow slowly walks across the open space. Doesn't flee, doesn't show fear. To the hungry hunter, that's like a meal delivering itself to its mouth. Lion immediately changes direction, silently closes in. The other creature still calmly keeps walking. Only when few meters remain, its entire back suddenly bristles upright. That's a porcupine. But the naive young lion has never encountered this species. In its eyes, this is only a slow meal. and it swipes a paw forward with full confidence. And that's its first mistake in life. The moment the paw touches that back, rows of quills have already embedded deep into the pad. The more it struggles, the deeper they sink. Lion is bewildered, confused. It tries using teeth to pull out the quills. But now lips, gums, and tongue are stuck with a fresh batch of new points. Porcupine calmly turns its back toward the enemy, raises quills higher, then shakes lightly. Sound of quills rasping each other rings out dry as a warning needing no roar. Only at this point does the young lion finally understand. It gives up, turns walking away in humiliation, each step sending a sharp stab of pain from its paw. And that is the most damaging thing. Quills are nearly impossible to fall out on their own. They'll follow lion with every step, turning both hunting and eating into torment. Just few days from now, those puncture wounds will begin swelling. A swipe seeming harmless has become a price that lion must carry for very long. While porcupine will still calmly walk amid grassland, continuing its own journey. The confrontation just now seemingly not worth it, turning to look back. Lion fades into distance, muzzle still injured. On these plains, there are creatures needing no flight because their bodies are already a warning. While lion still drags along with injury-covered body, not far away, a creature slower than every predator is leisurely crossing the grass patch. That's a leopard tortoise. No fangs, no speed. Throughout entire life, the only thing sheltering it is the thick dome shell covering its body. And that shield is about to be tested. A black-backed jackal has just discovered it. Hearing footsteps closing in, tortoise immediately withdraws head and all four legs inside shell. Immediately, the jackal tries every method. It scratches, bites, then tries to flip prey upside down. But the rounded shell keeps slipping from teeth, not leaving a single gap. Unable to break through armor, jackal switches to waiting. It lies crouching right beside, watching for tortoise to appear. But inside, prey stays motionless as stone. However, time is not on its side. Sun grows increasingly harsh, jackal breathes fast from thirst, while tortoise lies perfectly cool inside its shell. And in the end, thirst itself forces the hunter to give up. It runs off to find water. Tortoise preserves its life without launching a single strike. Only when footstep sounds completely vanish does shell slowly crack open. Tortoise leisurely continues its journey, carrying the fortress that once again saved its life. Tortoise has just disappeared behind grass patch, when under nearby acacia, another creature also ambles foraging. It has no shell, but wears overlapping armor covering everything. That's a ground pangolin, entire body covered in hard keratin plates, layered like roof tiles. Encountering danger, it curls into a mass with almost no weak point remaining. A leopard quickly discovers the prey. It lunges to pounce, but pangolin has already curled tight. Claws strike armor layer, producing a dry thudding sound. Leopard tries flipping it sideways, tossing it around, then biting from multiple angles. but armored mass stays absolutely sealed. After several failed attempts, it steps back few paces, then disappears behind low grass. But that's just a trap. Leopard hasn't left at all, only lies hidden still, eyes glued to armor mass, waiting for prey to think danger has passed. And sure enough, after quiet spell, pangolin slowly loosens its coil. Long snout cautiously pokes out to probe. Just a little longer, entire body will fully emerge. Right then, leopard from hiding spot springs out, but pangolin has reacted in time. Swipe only grazes tail, exactly at moment armor slams shut again. This time, pangolin absolutely refuses to open. Leopard stares few more seconds, then truly leaves. Even its strong jaw set, defeated by stubborn armor mass. Only when grassland has nothing left but wind sound does pangolin continue its journey. A perfect scale layer can still show a gap, but just needing to close in time, chance still remains. Suddenly, from northern bushes, rings out a series of hoarse, raspy growls. That sound doesn't belong to lion, nor hyena either. That's a honey badger, busily digging into bee nest under acacia base, despite entire swarm of bees covering its head and neck. Few would guess. Most formidable thing about this species is exactly its skin. Honey badger skin is both thick and tough, and strangely loose, almost not adhering to body beneath. Right then, a spotted hyena appears, many times the honey badger's size. Seeing prey absorbed beside bee nest, it thinks this is an easy meal. What folly. It lunges, clamping tight onto opponent's scruff. But right in that clamp, honey badger unexpectedly twists half its body within loose skin, countering with a set of razor-sharp teeth. Bitten back in sharp pain, hyena hastily releases, startled, jumping backward. Now the small creature still stands right there, not retreating at all, even growling in challenge. Then the unexpected happens. Instead of fleeing, honey badger charges straight toward hyena. The large hunter turns to confront, then flees, letting the tiny prey chase after. After driving off the intruder, honey badger calmly returns to acacia base. It digs bee nest, continues eating, despite swarm surrounding it. Nothing seems to trouble it. Fed full, honey badger leisurely departs. Still very far away, where sun-blazing rocks line the southern African coast, a small creature is quietly sunbathing. That's an armadillo lizard, only hand-sized. From head to tail, body covered in sharp spine scales, like armor assembled from hundreds of small pieces. Suddenly, a shadow sweeps across the rock slab. Above, hawk has already locked on target. Safety of rock crevice only few steps away. But instead of fleeing, it bites tight onto its own tail, rolling body into a round ball. Entire soft, vulnerable belly now nestles safely behind a ring of bristling spines. Hawk lands observing. Well knowing prey's sharp spines can injure itself, it quickly abandons and flies off, seeking another prey. It patiently lies still under harsh sunlight, only waiting until hawk's shadow completely disappears from sky before slowly releasing and continuing crawling into rock crevice. Biting its own body to seal shut every weak point, That is one of the strangest self-defense methods ever appearing in the reptile world. Evening gradually descends. Grassland, sparse forest, and rocky shores one by one sink into stillness, closing a long day across the continent. Species we just encountered are all not fast, not strong, nor possessing fangs or claws. Amid a world full of danger, they still survive in their own way. Because in nature, those who endure longest aren't always the strongest, but usually those best equipped to protect themselves. Under the early morning sun, the grassland ripples in waves. Among a cluster of flowers by a stream, a bee lands to drink nectar without noticing that the flower beside it has just turned its head. A flattened, glittering body with forelegs, spread like open petals, gives the orchid mantis perfect camouflage, its gaze continuously tracking the bee's every movement. When the bee lands on the flower right beside it, less than 2 centimeters away, the forelegs folded tight to the chest part slightly, the compound eyes rotate 180 degrees and lock precisely onto the prey's position. The moment the bee bows its head to drink nectar, those forelegs snap out in an instant, the sharp spines closing around the body. The bee's wings beat frantically a few times, then go still. The mantis brings the prey to its mouth, small jaws grinding through the chitin shell until only the thin wings remain, slowly falling down through the grass. A clean end to the first hunt of the day. After eating, it cleans its forelegs with its mouth, then sways gently with the leaf rhythm, blending back into the vegetation. Compound eyes still catching the rhythm of every movement on the surrounding branches. A few meters away, a small lizard crawls along a tree trunk without noticing that above it, the predator has already begun tracking its every step. In the midday sun, a green leaf mantis, roughly half the lizard size, sways its body like a real leaf, quietly sending movement signals to draw prey closer. The distance narrows to just 3 centimeters. The lizard finally notices the strange movement ahead. It freezes, studies the opponent carefully, then slowly lowers its head. The tongue is about to fire, but before the lizard can act, the mantis has already struck first. The folding forelegs snap down over the head before the tongue can retract. The lizard thrashes violently, but the grip locked around its head prevents any effective counterattack. Repeated bites begin targeting the soft tissue around the edges of the mouth. Channeling every remaining ounce of strength, the lizard wrenches hard and flings the mantis off the branch, breaking one of its hind legs. But the opening lasts only a moment. The mantis lunges again. The second lock is more decisive. Having fully subdued the prey, the mantis begins using its jaws to chew through the body, piece by piece, methodically consuming the opponent. The previous hunts all had a stable foothold, but this time, the mantis must hold its prey in midair, where a hummingbird hovers with wing beats at 70 times per second. In a tropical garden covered in red and violet blooms, a tiny body hovers before a nectar feeder, wings blurring into a haze in the sunlight. On the leaf, the green shadow has remained motionless for many hours. It lost one leg in this morning's hunt, but the front legs are still intact and folded tight against its chest, waiting. The hummingbird moves closer, its hum vibrating softly in the air. It dips its beak into the flower's center, into the nectar, just under 1 centimeter from the already parting forelegs. The moment it tastes the sweetness, the forelegs snap closed around the bird's neck, spines driving through thin feathers, sending the animal into a panic that pulls both off their position and into a spin through open air. Both fall into the shrubs below, where the final struggle ends. The mantis pins the prey down, pulling away small pieces through the thin feather layer. 2 hours later, only a few traces remain on the leaves. The wind will carry the last fragments away. The mantis will clean its forelegs, and it will turn toward the next prey. The previous prey were all smaller or comparable in size. But this time, the opponent is far longer, has sharp fangs, and attacks first, pushing the mantis into a reactive position. In low tropical shrubs under harsh sunlight, a green vine snake glides across a branch, tongue flickering for scent, but the smell of leaves masks the ambushed predator above. The snake stops beneath the branch, raises its head to probe the area, then detects movement. It lunges upward and bites one of the mantis's legs, opening a counterattack. The mantis bites back at the snake, but the snake's skin is too tough, so the mantis drops its prey onto a dry branch and escapes, leaving the mantis standing motionless on the tree. But the greatest danger does not come from prey. It comes from its own kind. The breeding season forces the male to approach a female much larger than itself, carrying those lethal hunting forelegs. The female mantis stands on a high branch, abdomen swelling with eggs. Below, a male half her size advances slowly from behind to stay out of her dangerous reach. Each step forward is broken by pauses to observe which direction the female's head is turned. The moment her head turns back, the male immediately freezes, is blending into the branch. 10 minutes pass. The male is now pressed close behind. He waits for the female to lower her head to feed, then immediately climbs onto her back, mating beginning amid the risk of being torn apart. A few minutes later, the female's head suddenly swings back. The hunting forelegs snap shut in an instant, closing down over the head of the mate trying to escape. The male wrenches hard trying to break free, but the size disadvantage leaves him unable to move. The female begins consuming the head, while the lower body continues its reflex mating motions by instinct. Half an hour later, the remaining body parts will become the final protein source nourishing the growing eggs, turning the mate into a meal before laying begins. Among the branches, the female folds her forelegs close to her chest, abdomen swelling steadily with developing eggs. In the days ahead, she will find a suitable dry branch, wrap the next generation into an egg case, and leave. The Eutheca slowly hardens under the sun, becoming a shield against weather and danger. But the body that formed it will not live long enough to see the day the eggs hatch. Many weeks later, her movements slow. A column of ants approaches the mother mantis. A body that survived countless hunts, finally brought still beneath an army. Above on the branch, the egg case still clings in place. Inside, hundreds of eggs are growing, protected by the last shield the mother left behind. A few weeks later, the foam casing splits open. Hundreds of mantis nymphs clamber over each other and emerge at once, hunting forelegs already folded and the first hunger already rising. And the first meal is not aphids. It is their own siblings. The faster ones immediately lock onto the necks of those beside them, opening a wave of cannibalism from the very first minute. Of the hundreds that emerge at once, numbers drop sharply within the first hour. The survivors scatter in every direction, leaving behind the first battlefield of their lives. But the grassland is also full of danger. Birds, lizards, and spiders continuously hunt every small movement, keeping the survival chain in constant reversal and swallowing the weak. Fewer than 1 in 10 survive the first week, but each survivor has already passed its first molt, body harder, longer, with forelegs beginning to resemble the mother's. On the old branch, the egg case is now empty, the shell slowly weathering in sun and wind. Below the tree, ants have cleaned away every trace, as though nothing ever existed. On the branch beside it, a nymph that has molted twice stands motionless, forelegs folded close to its chest, body swaying with the wind, compound eyes sweeping the leaf surface below. Compound eyes reflecting the late-day sun, forelegs folded against the chest, motionless, silent, waiting, as every generation before it has done. From above, the East African savannah appears as an endless golden canvas, where the shadow of large wings glides silently in parallel with a dark streak moving close to the ground. Beneath an acacia tree, a pride of lions rests after a meal. Bloodstains still ring their mouths, completely unaware of the brown eagle circling overhead and gradually lowering its arc. Under the low grass nearby, a black mamba nearly 3 meters long slides across a trail, carrying in its fangs enough venom to kill 10 grown adults. The eagle suddenly folds its wings and dives, talons driving straight into the mamba's midsection. Wind screams through the feathers as the large shadow rapidly covers the grass below. Talons pin the target to the red dust. The mamba immediately coils in resistance, whipping its head around at extreme speed, its venom-loaded fangs ready to strike. The mamba tightens around the eagle's wing, locking it in place and leaving the eagle thrashing helplessly as the venomous fangs continue searching for an angle on the neck. The eagle pecks repeatedly into the snake's body, but each strike only causes the mamba to tighten further. 2 bodies roll across the red earth, dust billowing in clouds, feathers and scales tangling together. The sound of the violent struggle causes the lion pride to raise their heads. 2 females rise and move slowly forward, curiously watching the cloud of red dust rolling up along the trail. One lowers its muzzle toward the brawl. The mamba immediately releases the eagle's wing, rears its head high, spreads its hood wide, and lets out a loud hiss of warning. The lioness stops. It recognizes that what stands before it is not prey, but a venomous threat. The mamba slowly slides out of the red dust and disappears into the low grass. The eagle snaps upright, spreading wings that are now slightly misaligned. Both lions still stand nearby as it fans its neck feathers and opens its beak in warning after the life or death struggle. The 2 lions advance no further. The eagle quickly gathers itself and labors heavily off the ground, circling once before fading into the rising thermals above the savannah. Beneath the low grass, the mamba has vanished, leaving behind a patch of earth that even the top of the food chain chose to avoid. In the end, all three species walked away. No true winner, only creatures that understood survival sometimes matters more than continuing the fight. Far from the red patch of earth, a secretary bird, nearly 1.3 meters tall, strides across the blazing grassland, its scale-armored legs ready for snake hunts across the ground. For this bird, the legs are the weapon, thick scales resistant to venom and kicks of tremendous force, moving steadily through the dry grass in search of the next prey. Ahead, a cobra nearly 2 meters long slides across open ground. The secretary bird immediately halts, lowers its neck, and holds a safe distance. The cobra quickly rears up, spreads its hood wide, and opens its mouth in a threat display. But the secretary bird only steps slowly sideways, forcing the snake to rotate with it. The snake suddenly lunges forward, but the moment its body is fully extended, a strike like a thunderbolt drives straight into its midsection, slamming the cobra down onto the red earth. On the next attack, the secretary bird again leaps backward at the right moment and delivers a reverse kick into the oncoming head, sending the snake staggering. By the third exchange, the cobra is slower. A kick straight down to the top of the head sends the snake's body thrashing across the ground, unable to raise its neck again. The secretary bird delivers a few more decisive kicks, then picks up the cobra's body and walks on across the grassland, as though the hunt just completed was nothing more than a routine part of the afternoon. It will continue sweeping through the grass until dusk, using its long legs and patience to bring down one snake after another with precise strikes. The sun-scorched grassland belongs to those who hunt from above. But to the west, among red rocks and scorching thorn bushes, another snake hunter appears, one that works at ground level through pure speed. A semi-desert stretches with cracked red rock and scattered cactus, as a small shape darts through the gaps in the stones so fast that the dust has not yet risen before it is gone. That is the roadrunner, a bird that hunts with long legs, a tail like a rudder, and a ground speed exceeding 40 kilometers per hour rather than wings. Ahead, a desert snake slides across open ground. The roadrunner spots the prey and immediately changes course, driving straight toward it without slowing. The snake quickly coils into a defensive posture, but the roadrunner simply circles continuously, forcing the opponent to keep changing direction until the movements of head and body begin to fall out of sync. The snake's strike misses. The moment its head extends forward, the roadrunner has already looped behind it, driving its beak hard into the back of the neck and slamming the snake's body against the red rock. Keeping the prey gripped in its beak, the roadrunner repeatedly slams the snake's body against the rock until the entire body goes limp and stops responding. Right where the chase ends, the hunter begins eating its prey. Each portion of the snake's body disappears between strong jerks and steady swallowing. On this arid land, the window of survival is always brief. Just minutes ago, a living creature was finding its way to survive. Now it has become the energy source sustaining another life. Across the savannah and semi-desert, each bird hunts in its own way. One uses talons, one relies on the force of its kicks, and the roadrunner depends entirely on speed. Every snake hunt between savannah and semi-desert is a gamble, because just one successful bite from a black mamba or a cobra is enough to end the hunter permanently. The eagle survived that morning because the mamba's fangs glanced off the thick neck feathers. Had they pierced the skin, the venom would have brought it down from the sky within minutes. For the secretary bird, the leg scales are the final line between life and death, because if the cobra could reach the unprotected thigh, the outcome would be entirely different. The roadrunner is different. No armor, no grip strength, only raw speed. Every loop around the snake is a bet of its life for the sake of its young. The brown eagle perches on a dry branch, wings pressed to its body, waiting for the bruised muscles to recover after the struggle. Further out in the afternoon grassland, the secretary bird still paces slowly through the yellow grass, knowing snakes are most active as temperatures begin to fall. Across the semi-desert, the mother roadrunner continues driving through the scorching rock crevices to find food. And beneath the acacia tree, the lions still lie there. And every time the wind stirs the grass ahead, they immediately raise their heads and look toward the place where the mamba once disappeared. Tomorrow, the eagle will circle the sky again. The secretary bird will step through the yellow grass, and the roadrunner will continue racing through the red rock. But the snakes will continue to exist as well. The race between talon and venom has no finish line, only the next round. When the last ray of sunlight leaves the savannah, the mamba still slides silently through the wind-stirred grass, fast enough and venomous enough that no one wants to cross its path a second time. In the scorching semi-desert, a pit viper lies motionless on a rock, two heat-sensing pits between its eyes and nostrils continuously scanning the environment around it. In its world, every warm-blooded creature appears as a moving point of light against the cool stone. Mice, lizards, and ground-foraging birds alike. A mouse steps out from a thorn bush about 30 centimeters away, completely silent. But the faint heat radiating from its body is already clearly visible in the predator's sensory system. The snake strikes with blinding speed, fangs driving precisely into the mouse's neck before the prey even has time to realize when it was first detected. The venom begins breaking down the prey's tissue from the inside. By the time the snake swallows, decomposition has already run ahead of the stomach. As swallowing begins, the snake's flexible jaw gradually widens to draw the entire mouse body inward in slow but precise alternating contractions. But heat sensing is not the only way snakes dominate the ground. Elsewhere, a giant hunts using nothing but muscle and patience sustained over hours. In the dry season, beside a river, most of the African rock python's body lies submerged in the mud at the water's edge, exposing only its eyes as it waits quietly for prey to draw near. A herd of impala slowly approaches the waterline. One female separates from the group and lowers her head to drink right at the edge of the mud, the exact spot where the python has been lying in ambush all morning. The mud surface explodes as the python launches upward, its backward curving teeth locking onto the prey's neck, while rings of muscle instantly coil around the ribcage, completely suppressing any movement. No crushing of bones, no tearing of flesh. It simply locks down each breath in turn until the impala goes still and the water's edge sinks back into silence. The python widens its jaws and alternately draws each section of the impala's body into its stomach over nearly an hour before lying motionless to digest over the following weeks. The python slides into the water, half submerged, eyes closed. Powerful stomach acid will dissolve bones, horn, and hooves, but this requires days of total stillness, and that is also the moment of greatest vulnerability. Across the savannah, not every snake needs to crush its prey to death. Some need only a single bite for neurotoxic venom to complete the rest of the hunt. The black mamba, nearly 3 meters long, with extreme speed on the ground and enough venom to kill animals many times its own size. This afternoon, a mamba is moving through low grass when a secretary bird spots it and blocks its path with thick scaled legs built for hunting snakes. The mamba immediately raises its head and opens its characteristically black mouth, while the secretary bird slowly circles just outside striking range, forcing its opponent to constantly pivot to track it. The mamba suddenly strikes forward, but the bird sidesteps and delivers a thundering kick to the fully extended body. The mamba strikes again, this time low and close to the ground, targeting the unscaled thigh of the secretary bird. Its fangs find their mark, causing the bird to recoil, its steps beginning to falter. The secretary bird gradually withdraws from the confrontation and turns to leave, the first time it has chosen to retreat. The mamba lowers its head and glides away in the opposite direction, letting the venom complete the rest. But not every confrontation with a mamba ends cleanly. This morning, a brown eagle nearly paid with its life after letting a black mamba coil tight around its wing. The mamba could not find an angle to bite through the thick neck feathers. It loosens its coils to reposition, and the eagle immediately seizes the opening, wings beating erratically as it breaks free from the ground. Those are 3 capabilities that snakes have evolved to dominate the ground. But evolution did not stop there. In the tropical rainforest of Southeast Asia, one species has left the ground behind entirely. Tropical rainforest blanketed in dense leaf canopy and heat rising from the warm earth below. On a branch 30 meters up, a slender green body lies motionless in the light filtering through the canopy. The flying snake has no wings and no gliding membrane, but when it launches from a branch, its body flattens, beflattens, and spreads wide, then glides through the open air like a living ribbon through the ancient forest. 10 meters, then 15 meters, it glides between canopy layers without touching the ground, faster than climbing and safer than descending into a world full of predators below. Landing on a branch, the flying snake coils itself, flicks its tongue to pick up scent, then follows a lizard through the canopy, a race between wingless creatures. But whether hunting by gliding, constricting, or striking, every snake faces the same challenge: swallowing prey whole and intact without hands to tear it apart or teeth to chew. Beyond hunting, snakes possess another trait rarely found elsewhere in the animal kingdom: shedding their entire old skin in a single piece from head to tail. Rubbing its head against rough rock and then pushing forward, the old skin gradually inverts and peels back, revealing a fresh layer of bright new scales beneath. Shedding is not only about allowing the body to continue growing, it also eliminates parasites, bacteria, and accumulated damage, like a rebirth from within the old skin. In the days before shedding, they are nearly blind as the old skin covers their eyes, making the body sluggish and more vulnerable to attack than at any other time. For this reason, they typically hide in rock crevices, dark burrows, or hollow tree bases for many days at a stretch, until the old skin has fully slipped away and their eyes are ready for the next hunt. Heat sensing, constriction, venom injection, aerial gliding, swallowing prey whole, or shedding an entire skin. Any one of these abilities alone is enough for a snake to dominate its own environment. In the semi-desert, the pit viper still lies on the warm rock, waiting for the next heat signature. Farther on, the rock python with a belly stretched tight and heavy after its hunt. Elsewhere on the savannah, the black mamba has vanished into the low grass, while the flying snake continues to coil among the canopy of the tropical rainforest. On the dry rock, the shed skin lies behind like a final trace of one act of rebirth, before ants drag it away and it disappears entirely from nature. Over 3,000 species of snakes exist across nearly every continent. No legs, no wings, no external ears, yet older than most mammal species alive today. What they share is a body that never stops growing. After each shed, bones lengthen, muscles thicken, and the new version is always larger than before. The pit viper that hunts mice today will one day hunt rabbits. The mamba will eventually bring down an eagle in the next confrontation. Every living snake is a draft of a larger version to come. And somewhere on this planet, an egg has just cracked open, a forked tongue tasting the air for the first time before learning how to hunt and survive. Within a few weeks, it will strike for the first time, constrict for the first time, swallow for the first time. And if it survives the first year, the first shed skin will be smaller than a human hand. The final one may stretch longer than 5 meters. They leave behind no roar and no territory to assert their existence. Only shed skins as evidence that the body continues to grow after each act of survival. When the last ray of sunlight leaves the ground, the wind carries a thin, light snakeskin drifting across the grassland. It will tear and vanish, but the creature that shedded it has already grown larger and is moving on toward the next hunt.